I will be teaching the imperfect tense. So what is the imperfect tense? The imperfect tense tells what someone used to do, tells what things were like, and tells how things used to be. It also implies that a past action did not have a definite beginning or a definite end. To conjugate the imperfect tense, follow these forms. For an AR-ending verb, you would conjugate as yo aba, tú abas, él aba, nosotros abamos, vosotros habáis, ellos haban. For ER and IR verbs, the conjugations are the same. So you would conjugate as yo ia, tú ias, él ia, nosotros íamos, vosotros íais, and ellos ian. For example, if I were to conjugate the verb hablar, which is an AR-ending verb, I would follow these conjugations. So for the yo form, I would conjugate it as yo hablaba. For the tú form, tú hablabas, él hablaba, nosotros hablábamos, vosotros hablabais, and ellos hablaban. For an ER-ending verb, such as comer, I would conjugate it as yo comía, tú comías, él comía, nosotros comíamos, vosotros comíais, and ellos comían. For an IR-ending verb, such as vivir, I would conjugate as yo vivía, tú vivías, él vivía, nosotros vivíamos, vosotros vivíais, and ellos vivían. Now there are also irregular verbs in the imperfect tense. There are 3 of them. The first one is ir. To conjugate ir, you would conjugate as yo iba, tú ibas, él iba, nosotros íbamos, vosotros ibais, and ellos iban. The second irregular verb is ver. You would conjugate ver as yo vía, tú vías, él vía, nosotros víamos, vosotros víais, and ellos vían. The last irregular verb is ser. To conjugate ser, you would do yo era, tú eras, él era, nosotros éramos, vosotros erais, and ellos eran. Now there are different ways to use the imperfect tense. The first way you use the imperfect tense are for actions that were repeated habitually. So for example, we would have lunch together every day. You would use the imperfect tense for this because you're saying that we would have done something in the past tense, and then every day is what is being repeated. So this would translate as almorzábamos juntos todos los días. And your verb that you were conjugating in the imperfect tense would be almorzar. Since almorzar is an AR ending verb, you take off the AR ending and you add abamos. Another example would be the ladies would always chat in the morning. Translated as las señoras siempre charlaban por las ventanas. The verb charlar, meaning to chat, is what you are conjugating in the imperfect tense. Since it's an AR ending verb, you take off the AR and you add the aban because you're conjugating it for the AOS form. The second reason to use the imperfect tense is for actions that set the stage for one another. For example, I was reading when my dad entered. Translate this as yo leía cuando entró mi padre. So the verb leer is what we are conjugating here. Since it's an ER ending verb, you take off the ER and you add IA. Another example is, I was writing when the bell rang. Translated as, yo estaba escribiendo cuando sonó la campana. The verb estar is what we are conjugating here. So since it's an AR ending verb, you take off the AR and you add aba for the yo form. The third reason to use imperfect tense is for telling time in the past. For example, it was 7 o'clock at night. Translated as, eran las 7 de la noche. So you have to know that the verb here is ser, and since ser is an irregular verb, you have to look at that conjugated list I previously showed for irregulars and know that you would conjugate it as eran. Another example would be, they always ate lunch at noon. Siempre comieron el almuerzo a la mediodía. So the verb here would be comer, and since it's an ER ending verb, you drop the ER and you add IR on. The fourth reason to use imperfect tense is to tell someone's age. For example, the little girl was 5 years old. La niña tiene cinco años is how it would be translated. And you use the verb tener and you drop the ER. And since it's an ER ending verb, you add IA at the end. Another example would be, he was 80 years old at the time. Translated as, él eras 80 años el momento. So you again have to know that the verb here is ser, and since it's an irregular, you have to memorize those conjugations to know that you would be using the verb eras. The last thing you would use imperfect tense on is for actions that are not physical, but are feelings or mental actions that occurred in the past. So for example, it was winter and it was cold. Era invierno y hacía frío. So again, here's your ser verb and you have to know those conjugations. Another example, Tony was feeling sick. Tony estaba enfermo. And again, another estar verb where you drop the AR and add the aba ending. So all the examples I had just explained follow this general rule. And the general rule is that the imperfect is used for past actions that are not seen as completed. In addition to all the guidelines I just went over, there are also key phrases involved in the imperfect tense. And when you see any of these key phrases, it serves, especially for me, as an indicator that my verb will be in the imperfect tense, since it's showing me that it is something that is being repeated. So these key phrases would include things like todos los días, which means every day, cada día, which also means every day, los domingos, which means on Sundays, and this would also apply to every other day in the week. Siempre, meaning always. Muchas veces, meaning many times. Con frecuencia means frequently. A menudo means very often. De niño means when I was young. And cuando era pequeño also means when I was young. So if you see any of these in a sentence, it really just serves as an indication that the verb is in the imperfect tense, or should be in the imperfect tense. Or at least you can use them. So in addition to using the things I just explained, you can also use the imperfect tense to state what someone was going to do. In order to do this, you have to use the ir a plus infinitive. Ir a plus infinitive is followed by another verb in the imperfect when the second verb refers to an ongoing state or a condition in the past. So this just means when you use the ir a infinitive, your second verb that follows is going to be what's imperfect, and it's just going to tell you that the action is something that would have happened in the past. So for example, we were going to play soccer, but we have too much homework. Nosotros íbamos a jugar al fútbol. The íbamos a jugar is the ir a infinitive. So to conjugate ir, you would have to know, remember when I stated that ir was an irregular verb, so you have to memorize those conjugations, and you would use íbamos since it's the nosotros form. So you conjugate this, and you get your verb, which is your infinitive. So nosotros íbamos a jugar al fútbol, pero tenemos mucho trabajo. And tener here is your second verb, and it's conjugated in the imperfect tense. So we know how to conjugate that in the imperfect tense. Since it's an ER verb, we add the íamos ending to comply with the nosotros subject. So another example would be, Eduardo was going to go out, but he was feeling very tired. Eduardo iba a salir, which is your ir a plus infinitive, and you conjugate ir to comply with Eduardo. Pero se sentía muy cansado, and the verb here being sentir, you drop the ir and you add the ia ending, just like we were doing with the imperfect earlier. The end. Don't forget to practice.